Pakistan is not being removed from the grey list today. The country will be removed from the list if it successfully passes the on-site visit.
Pakistan hoped for some reprieve as the international watchdog Financial Action Task Force began meetings in Berlin during its plenary session in June 2022. This topic is very important from an examination point of view. Why has Pakistan been placed on the grey list and why is it being proposed to be taken off the list now? What is the FATF all about? What are the implications of this move to India? To know all this and more, let's get rolling with this video. The plenary session of the Financial Action Task Force was held at Berlin from 14 to 17 June 2022. During this session, it discussed the progress made by some jurisdictions identified as presenting a risk to the financial system, referring to the entities on the grey list. The grey list includes Pakistan and 22 other countries as on date. Let us have a look at the background. Till date, Pakistan has been on the FATF Grey List thrice. Pakistan was previously on increased monitoring lists in 2008 to 2009. Thereafter, Pakistan gave a high-level commitment in June 2010 that it would work with the FATF and the Asia Pacific Group, the regional FATF-like body, to sort out differences. The FATF public statement of February 2012 listed Pakistan among countries that have jurisdictions with strategic anti-money laundering and financing terrorism deficiencies that have not made sufficient progress in addressing the deficiencies or have not committed to an action plan developed with the FATF to address the deficiencies. In 2015, it was removed from the grey list by international consensus. Pakistan was again placed on the grey list by the FATF in June 2018 and was given a 34-point action plan to implement it. Since 2018, it has been on the same list as the Paris-based watchdog was not satisfied with the actions taken by Pakistan to control terror financing till the plenary in March 2022. Pakistan raised the pitch that the FATF had been politicized, with Pakistan's previous Prime Minister stating that India wanted to destroy the Pakistani economy. China also said that there were political designs behind some countries which want to include Pakistan in the blacklist. Ahead of the FATF's October 2019 plenary, the Asia Pacific Group on Money Laundering, after considering Pakistan's mutual evaluation report, found critical gaps in Islamabad's performance to curb the flow of funds to terror groups like Jamaat-ud-Dawa and Lashkar-e-Taiba. In October 2019, Pakistan fully met only 5 of the 27 action points, but it managed to avoid the blacklist and was given a reprieve till February 2020. Pakistan managed to deliver on 14 out of the 27 action points by February 2020. Hence, the FATF gave it a grace period of 4 months to fully implement the action plan. After COVID in October 2021, the FATF announced that Pakistan would remain on the grey list until it further demonstrated that action was being taken against senior leaders of UN-designated terrorist groups. After the plenary in March 2022, Pakistan was complimented for making significant progress and completing 26 of the 27 tasks. Pakistan had claimed that it had completed 26 of the 27 tasks in its 2018 action plan and 6 of the 7 items of the 2021 action plan of the Watchdog's Asia Pacific Group. The FATF statement claimed that Islamabad had demonstrated that terror financing investigations and prosecutions targeting senior leaders and commanders of UN-designated terror groups was in progress. Further, it observed an upward trend in the number of money laundering investigations and prosecutions being pursued in Pakistan. The FATF made the initial determination that Pakistan has substantially completed its 2 action plans covering 34 items and warrants an on-site visit to verify that the implementation of Pakistan's anti-money laundering, finance terrorism reforms has begun and is being sustained, and the necessary political commitment remains in place to sustain implementation and improvement in the future. After the plenary ended in Berlin, FATF announced that since Pakistan had largely completed its action plans, it qualified for an on-site visit at the earliest possible date. Pakistan moved a step closer to getting out of the grey list of the FATF. Countries in this list are determined to have strategic deficiencies in implementing an effective legal regime to combat money laundering and terror financing. As per the FATF procedure for removal from the list for increased monitoring, a country must first address all or nearly all of the components of its action plan. At the post-plenary press conference, the outgoing FATF President Marcus Player said that the on-site visit would be conducted by experienced experts If the on-site visit has a positive outcome, the FATF will decide on removing the jurisdiction from public identification. According to the Pakistani media, the sentence of 33 years awarded to Lashkar-e-Taiba chief Hafiz Saeed on terrorism charges by an anti-terrorism court in April this year may have played a part in convincing the FATF that Islamabad had turned a corner. In addition, Pakistan also claimed to have largely addressed its 2021 action plan ahead of the set time. Pakistan's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Hina Rabbani Khar, who led the official delegation in Berlin, said that this marks the process of leaving the grey list as per the FATF procedure and asserted that they will ensure that the technical evaluation team would be able to visit and complete its process before the October 2022 plenary cycle. In Pakistan, the principal opposition party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, were quick to claim credit for the FATF deciding on the on-site visit, with former Prime Minister Imran Khan pointing out that his government had completely implemented 32 out of the 34 action plan points. In order to complete the 34-point action plan, a number of steps have been claimed to have been taken by Pakistan in the past years. This includes the conviction of Hafiz Saeed and arrest of about 300 other designated terrorists, the seizure of more than 1,100 properties owned by terror groups under the guise of running educational, medical and charitable trusts, change in law to bring Pakistan's Anti-Terrorism Act in line with international designations for terrorists, as well as changes to money laundering laws and the freezing of bank accounts belonging to terror groups and their leaders. In addition, it also claimed to have addressed the 2021 action plan ahead of the set time. However, India has been skeptical of the efficacy and the permanence of Pakistani actions on terror taken thus far. What is the FATF all about? The FATF is an intergovernmental decision-making body to develop policies against money laundering. It is the global money laundering and terrorist finance watchdog. It was established in 1989 during the G7 summit in Paris, initially to examine and develop measures to combat money laundering. In October 2001, the FATF expanded its mandate to incorporate efforts to combat terror financing. In April 2012, it added efforts to counter the financing of proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Since its inception, the FATF has operated under a fixed lifespan, requiring a specific decision by its ministers to continue. 3 decades after its creation in April 2019, FATF ministers adopted a new open-ended mandate for the FATF. The FATF's decision-making body, that is the FATF plenary, meets 3 times per year. The FATF secretariat is located at the OECD headquarters in Paris. Currently, there are 39 members of the FATF, including the European Commission and the Gulf Cooperation Council. FATF has now appointed T. Rajakumar of Singapore as the next president for a fixed 2-year term from 1st July 2022. India became an observer at FATF in 2006. On 25th June 2010, India was taken in as the 34th member country of FATF. What are the functions of FATF? FATF sets standards and promotes effective implementation of legal, regulatory and operational measures for combating money laundering. The FATF works to identify national level vulnerabilities with the aim of protecting the international financial system from misuse. It has also started dealing with virtual currencies. Since 2000, FATF has maintained the FATF Blacklist, formerly called as the Call for Action, and the FATF Grey List, formerly called the Other Monitored Jurisdictions. The blacklist has led financial institutions to shift resources and services away from the listed countries. This in turn creates pressure on the governments of the listed countries to introduce regulations that are compliant with the FATF. What is the possible impact of placing a country in the FATF Grey List? It is believed that the grey listing will squeeze a country's economy and make it harder for it to meet its mounting foreign financing needs. This includes potential future borrowings from the IMF. Grey listing could lead to a downgrade in credit rating by the rating agencies. It will affect the country's ability to float international bonds, borrow from multilateral bodies, receive or send remittances, or conduct international trade. The status creates the compliance burden on entities within country's financial system. Therefore, it attaches an additional cost to many external sector transactions. However, many believe that the FATF sanctions will not change anything miraculously. Many experts claim that Pakistan was on the FATF Grey List from 2012 to 2015. During this period, it successfully completed an International Monetary Fund program and raised over $5 billion from the international bond markets. Its imports and exports remained stable. This is evidence that the grey listing did not raise any significant barriers to trade. What are the likely implications of this move to India? India's FATF heat and terror financing evidence against Pakistan forced the world to place the country on monitoring and take action against it. This pushed Pakistan's direct financing of terror groups onto the back burner. This development is on expected lines as per Indian government officials, and India's concerns may rise further. The Pakistani Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto's meeting with US Secretary of State Blinken in May 2022 on the sidelines of the UN initiated the process of the delisting. Taking Pakistan off the grey list could make the ISI go all out once again. The country, known for sheltering terrorists, will continue financing Jaish-e-Mohammed, LET and others. Pakistan could up the ante once again on Kashmir. The security grid in India has been alerted following this development. From 2008 to 2019, the grey listing has resulted in a cumulative GDP loss of approximately $38 billion to Pakistan. Being in the grey list signals risks in transactions with the country in question. Major financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank are affiliated with FATF as observers. A grey-listed country faces complications in accessing international lending instruments. If removed from the grey list, Pakistan will have access to loans at cheaper interest rates, and the move will also lower the risk of investing in Pakistan. To conclude, the removal of Pakistan from the FATF grey list is definitely not a good sign for India, and hence the Indian government should take all measures to ensure that Pakistan continues in the grey list at the minimum, if not being blacklisted, until Pakistan-sponsored terrorism abates in India. With this, we come to the end of today's discussion on Pakistan's likely removal from the grey list of the FATF. Please do let me know if you would like to know more about current affairs topics in the comment section. If you like the content, please do like, share and subscribe to my channel. All the best. Jai Hind.